Hi, I'm Ian White. I'm founder and CEO of ChartHop. We are the people analytics platform that helps you manage all your people data. And so today I want to talk about power to the people leaders. I want to talk about the last couple of years and the year ahead, and what are the ingredients that we can use to help your team thrive in this new environment that we're all in. You know, the last 2 years, to say that they've been challenging for people leaders is, I think, the understatement of the century. 98% of HR leaders say that their role has changed since the pandemic. I don't know who are the other 2% whose role has not changed since the pandemic. That may be the people leaders on Mars, but for everybody else, we've had one of the most challenging years of their career. 70% have had one of the most challenging years of their career. And in this new world, this perfect storm that we've had these last couple of years has been a complete upheaval of traditional HR. People leaders have been expected to become COVID safety experts and epidemiologists, support mental health and well-being efforts, develop caretaker policies, find new ways to keep employees and managers connected after a sudden and overnight shift to remote work, ensure productivity and engagement in the remote world, build return to office plans, put some of those plans on hold, and then build the return to office plans again, and develop remote work arrangements in the meantime, comply with new and evolving regulations, consider how compensation should work for remote teams, support employee development and growth, plan and manage DEI initiatives, all that while attracting top talent, developing a competitive benefits package, retaining existing employees during the Great Resignation, and keep current on HR tech, and the list just goes on. Just thinking about all these elements is overwhelming, let alone actually working through them. But the most forward-thinking teams have used this situation as an opportunity to reinvent, to rethink what HR looks like at their organizations. A lot of this work has been tireless. It's been behind the scenes, often unrecognized and unrewarded, but the work has paid off. They've had an incredible impact on their companies, on their employees' well-being, and it's time to recognize them for all their hard work. And ChartHop has done this recently with our 2022 People Pioneers Award, which is a peer-nominated award that recognizes 10 HR leaders for the positive impact they've had on their organizations. Leaders like Nadia Vadalidis, VP of People at Remote.com, Devin Blaze, VP of People at TrueWork, Danielle Philemon, Chief People Officer at State Labs, and many, many more. We wanted to recognize because these leaders and many, many others like them have succeeded in creating welcoming, inclusive, and supportive environments for employee growth during this tumultuous time. They've reimagined the employee experience through intentional efforts around scaling growth, embedding DEI in the company culture, and developing employees to improve retention. And so some of the results that we saw from this group of award winners include scale. This group was able to accomplish 5 to 10x growth in under 2 years. That's a lot of people to hire, that's a lot of people to onboard, but through investments in compensation benchmarking to make sure we're paying fairly and competitively, offering world-class benefits, remote onboarding processes to onboard successfully many people, and manager development. All of those things have helped to produce scale growth. Meanwhile, DEI, many of these leaders have upwards of 50% of employees from underrepresented groups through initiatives like revamped job descriptions, diverse recruiting panels, structured immigration processes, pay gap analyses, and ongoing discussion forums that create a safe space for employees to share and trade resources. For development and retention, this group reduced turnover to less than 10% and increased NPS by 50% through focus on initiatives like growth-oriented performance reviews. Continuous performance management, including regular one-on-ones and frequent review cycles, listening tours, engagement surveys, and clarity of career levels and career tracks. So how can you push the envelope in your organization to see results like these? How can we all see these types of business and people results? I think there's three things. There's probably many more than three things, but there's three great places to start. One is establish a direct line of communication with employees, create transparency into the organization, and ensure that your team has easy access to data and insights. So let's break this down. First, establishing a direct line of employees, of communication with employees is critical. It's so important to open up the conversation so you can hear directly from your employees what they want to see. Understand, get honest feedback on what's working for them, what makes them stay, what makes them leave. It's very easy, especially in a remote environment, for a leadership team to get very quickly out of touch with what is the actual lived experience of a person working at your company, an employee trying to get their work done and engage and feel a sense of belonging and feel a sense of a part of the bigger picture. And helping focus, you want to focus your areas of initiatives on the things that actually matter to people, not just what your executives think matter. You want to focus on what's going to matter on the ground. And the best ways to open those communications up are through multiple channels. First, employee surveys are critical. You should have pulse input engagement surveys that get a good sense of the pulse and sentiment, ENPS surveys, onboarding surveys, 90-day check-ins, and exit surveys. All of which, if you have these together, you can capture sentiment across the entire employee life cycle and have a really good sense of where we need to improve at a high level. Regular manager one-on-ones as a touch point with forums that can, a structured one-on-one check-in that can collect key discussion points and help create clarity for both the manager and the employee, can help get a more consistent view of what is the feedback that's traveling in both directions. Feedback on performance from managers and feedback on what resources do I need as an employee? What are the things that I need to be successful in the organization? Where are points of friction or challenge or struggle? Being able to have those consistent key feedback sessions documented can be a really important data point in helping you understand your organization. And finally, focused conversations. I just don't think there's any substitute. You know, I'm in the HR tech business and we build technology that helps with data. There's no substitute. No technology can substitute for people just sitting down and talking to each other and listening to each other. And so focused conversations with different groups of employees, different departments, different teams, different employees who may represent different underrepresented groups around your organization, different employees with different levels of seniority or tenure. Understand the context of the data you're seeing in the survey, because we do hundreds and thousands of surveys across our customer base. There is no substitute. The data can tell one story. There is no substitute for sitting down with people and looking them in the eye and talking with them about how they are feeling and what they are thinking. So direct line of communication is critical, and you want it to be across lots of different channels and lots of different ways to understand the feedback that you're truly getting from your employees. Next up, transparency is key. Creating transparency into the organization. When you communicate the reason for any change you're making, what to expect, and where to find more details, this helps build trust across your employee population. Trust is the foundation of any great team. And when changes happen and they're not over communicated to people, when people see things happening around the organization, they don't understand why, they don't understand the context or the reason for it, then people will always fill in the blanks that you don't spell out with their worst imaginings, especially if they're remote and they don't necessarily have the day-to-day context behind a situation, you want to over communicate with the most transparency you possibly can to both build trust and also foster enthusiasm. Get people excited about where the organization is going and the why behind the initiatives that you're taking. And so some concrete steps. Self-serve access to HR information is mission critical. Every employee should be able to easily get the answers they need to get about their compensation, their performance, their team's performance, their team's compensation. They, as a manager, I just spoke with a leader at an organization just yesterday who told me that they lost someone great because the manager didn't know that the person's equity grant was light relative to where it needed to be. When data is siloed and you can't readily get access to it, outcomes like that can happen. So you want to make sure that everybody can easily find the answers that they need and do so quickly and effectively. Then open communication about new initiatives is critical. You want to be open about what is the what, the why, the how of any new initiative to bring people into the process. Let them know that they're being heard. Disagree and commit is what you always want, but you can't start to disagree until you've communicated what the context is. And so helping people feel bought into the process, even if they don't agree with it, understand and help them being heard and help them understand the impact, especially if it's a large scale change you're making. Help each employee understand, what does this mean for them? And so clear and open, transparent communication will build that trust and ultimately build more effectiveness in the initiatives you're driving. And finally, sharing ongoing insight into the progress towards the goals that you have as an organization and the progress you're making is key, so that employees can understand, where are we headed towards a goal? How much progress have we made? What's going well? What's not going well? And where can I help to help accomplish this outcome? So keeping people updated, whether it's through a weekly all hands or forum, or a tool that can help share the progress openly of projects, you want to make sure that people have a really, really clear view of where are we with the goals that we're working towards. And finally, ensuring easy access to data and insights for your team and for managers and everyone around the company. You want there to be easy access to people data, understand and identify, where can you take action? How can you track the progress of those efforts? And this can help you take your team out of data wrangling between different spreadsheets and different silos and start unlocking valuable insights that you can tie directly to actions that can help drive change. So you can unlock the value of your data by, first, you should have one up-to-date source of truth for all HR data that makes it easy for your team to view that data on any dimension. And the modern people analytics platform can make this possible easily. You should be able to, in one place, understand compensation, performance, all people metrics around employee engagement and satisfaction, and be able to tie that to role, structure, cost. Everything you should be able to understand in one place. And scaling processes, things like headcount planning processes or compensation planning processes, you want to move beyond spreadsheets to automated and collaborative processes that can both save your team time, but also bring more people into the process. This will allow these processes to grow with your business. And finally, being able to share data and improve collaboration and communication by sharing data around the organization as needed, with the sensitivity controls that allow you to share with the trust and knowledge that people will not be able to see data that they aren't supposed to see. But something that's challenging to do with a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is all or nothing. If you have a system or tooling that will allow you to share data around the organization that can help give everybody the access to data and insights that they need to manage their part of the organization and surface and understand issues as they arise. And you want people to see only the information that's necessary for their job not any more, and not any less. And many organizations, it's less. So these are how we think about 3 things that you can work towards today to drive more effective organizations. Ultimately, knowing these ways to drive an impact is one thing, but putting them into action is another. It requires commitment and requires change management, modern HR tech that can support the change you want to drive, and ultimately collaboration and alignment across the leadership team. And that, maybe more than anything else, is a critical role of the people leader to help build that alignment and that collaboration. It's not always easy in an organization to create that type of collaboration and alignment, but it's incredibly rewarding when you can do so. And as people leaders, that's our mission and our job, to build better organizations, to help our organizations be both more effective and more inclusive and better places for people to work, to be able to retain and attract great talent, and to be able to ultimately build the organizations that we want to be proud of. Nobody said it would be easy, but we at ChartHop try to make it a little bit easier. And so I'd love to stay in touch. If you have feedback or thoughts on how you're trying to drive change at your organization, reach out to me. I'm at ian@charthop.com. You can find me on Twitter at Ian White. And I'd love to stay in touch and keep the conversation going as we head into another year of change, but a year 2022 that can also be one of incredible opportunity for people leaders everywhere. So I'd love to hear from you, and thank you again for your time, and have a great rest of your day.